All right, hey guys, I'm Mark,
I'm Austin.
and this is Life with Rojo.
I'd like to introduce myself. I don't believe that we have ever met. I think that we could hit it off so well. Let me paint a picture, you and me together. I'd like to introduce myself.
Today we are joined with a very special guest, one of my favorite comedians, Brian Bates. And you may know Brian from his Dry Bar specials. You may know him from Nate Land, or you may be like me. You've traveled all over the Southeast to go see him, along many other places, just to see him perform. He's an incredible comedian, and he's a comedian that I love because I can take anybody to see him. It's just something that you can feel comfortable having anybody there, and his videos are all over. I probably watch one at least every day. I see him on Instagram and everything else, and man, we really appreciate you coming on, Brian.
Well, I appreciate it. You need to get better hobbies if you're following me around that much. Instead of Life with Rojo, it should be called Mark Get a Life.
Right. Hey, you're probably not wrong.
That's actually what we call it after hours. But
Yeah. No, I'm honored. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. So, we're excited. One of the things we wanted to bring you on is you got a big show coming up July 9th in Chattanooga at Comedy Catch, and awesome place to watch a show. And I've seen you there a couple times, and really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's been it's been over a year, maybe a year and a half since I was last there, and I've been going to the Comedy Catch for years. Its old location for years, and then it moved downtown probably 10 years ago or so, I guess. And I've been going there, pretty regularly, and I love it. It's great. I always have such a great time there in Chattanooga, and Chattanooga's a great city, and it's just fun to visit, and I always have a good time doing shows there.
No, that's awesome. And one of the things that we talk about a lot on the podcast is we love to have fun, but we also like to talk about, different choices sometimes that are hard, like career changes and different things like that.
Yeah.
And, I hear on the Nate Land podcast that you got into comedy a little later than some of the other guys. So Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Sure. Much later, really. I mean, most guys start stand-up comedy in their early 20s and, if not earlier. And I was 35 when I took a stand-up comedy class for the first time. So that's, Aaron Weber, who's on our podcast, he's 33 now. So, when I was his age, I hadn't even thought about attempting it. But I took a stand-up comedy class when I was 35 years old. It was a 4-week class. Really wasn't thinking I would be a full-time stand-up comic, just did it for fun. Really liked the class, really liked the teacher. He was a good mentor to me, still is. And his name's Rick Roberts, and he's a very funny comedian. Check him out. And he's been a great mentor to me. And then I took his next level, and then I started making friends, and then things started getting competitive. And it certainly wasn't anything that happened overnight, but 8 years later from that class, at age 43, I quit my job and went full-time into stand-up comedy.
No, that's awesome. Like what was that transition like leaving the security of a full-time job to, hey, I feel like I'm doing pretty good with this, that I'm going to go all in.
Yeah. I mean, I was single at the time. So I remember just thinking, if I fail, I'm only hurting myself, as far as, I'm the only one that's going to be starving. So that gave me a little bit of freedom, and but I was smart about it. The last 6 months of my job, I just lived off of my stand-up comedy money to see if I could do it. And I did. So that kind of gave me a sign that I could probably make this work. And then I remember I quit my job. The last day was December 17th, 2014. And so it's immediately, I want to hit the ground running in this new life I'm in, but it's Christmas break, it's New Year's break, it's getting dark at 4:00 in the afternoon. I just remember kind of being depressed for the first few weeks, of making this change, because everybody was either taking time off and it was so cold and dark outside. It was just kind of depressing. So it took me a little while to get my feet. And I'd been doing my job working at that company for almost 20 years. So that was kind of my identity. So it took me a little while to create this new identity and kind of get going and, and hitting the road.
Wow. So you were 15 when you first started working for that same company? You said you left around 35 or?
I didn't leave when I was around 35. I left when I was 43. I took the stand-up comedy class at age 35,
Gotcha.
and then I left my job at 43. So I guess I was 24. Yeah, because I was just short of 20 years there. So I started right out of college.
Yeah, Austin actually struggles with math.
We don't do math.
Yeah.
We come from a mental health background, so you don't have to know a lot of math.
Well, his math was right. He just wasn't listening. And,
Well, maybe we shouldn't say
ADHD too, but
yeah.
maybe we shouldn't say his job is listening then. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
cut that out. No, just kidding.
No, but like one thing that you said there, I think is huge. That when people are making a transition, like a career transition, on being able to live off the money that you're making from that transition, and I think that's a huge thing. I think there's a lot of wisdom in you doing it that way. And when we talk to people who are looking at career changes, that's one of the things that we encourage them to do as well.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, I used to always think about what would have been if I had started comedy when I was younger and what I might have succeeded at. And but recently I've come to the realization that this is probably the only way it would have worked for me, because stand-up comedy is really hard and most people don't make it. And I'm probably not the type of person that would have grinded it out for years, sleeping on someone's couch, working 3 jobs, to pursue this. So I guess God knew what was best for me, because by the time I tried this, I had some money in the bank. I was, pretty well off as far as that goes. And then I could kind of, pursue comedy in a way where I never really struggled that much financially.
No, that's awesome. Now, like, did you feel kind of called to the comedy thing earlier in life, or was it just, kind of close to that 35 age that you're like, I'm going to see what these classes are about?
Not really. I mean, my friends always told me I was funny, but I never really, and I always loved stand-up comedy, but I never really thought, oh, I could do that as a career. But my dad passed away in December of 2006. And I spoke at his funeral and shared some funny stories about him, and saw the power of how laughter and humor can even help us through the most difficult of times. And that was December 2006. January 2007 is when I took that class. And again, I really wasn't doing it thinking I'm going to be a full-time stand-up comedian, but I was down, from my dad passing away, and wanted something new in my life that and that's one reason I took the class.
No, that's really cool, because like, so my background, I was in the Army.
Okay.
And when I got injured in the Army, struggled some with PTSD and different things like that. And comedy and just filling myself with laughter and things of joy and everything, and fitness were really the things to kind of get me out of that. So like, well before I'd ever been to one of your shows, I'd heard your comedy and, just loved it. So, I mean, like, one thing I want you to know is there's a lot of healing in that for people. So,
well, I appreciate that. I wish fitness is something that I got motivated about doing. It would be really helpful if I enjoyed it.
well, see, for me, it's a good balance, because I'm big into fitness, but I'm also big into eating. So it kind of levels out, so I don't really get any better either direction. So,
Yeah, I'm good at one of those.
right.
Yeah, same. I'm much better at eating. I'm like really good at eating, kind of good at the working out thing.
Yeah.
It's somewhat
You guys-
overrated.
Do you guys work out together?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But I'm one of those, I have to go at like 5 a.m. So, it's I know for a comedian's schedule that has to seem like an hour that doesn't really happen, because y'all are probably just getting to bed a little before that.
Yeah. I've been going to bed earlier this week because my wife's been out of town and I've been on dad duty. So I've been having to get up early and it's been so hot, this morning when I was up and it was like 6 a.m., I thought, boy, if I was a runner, this is when I'd want to go right now before it gets so hot.
Well, that might be what you should do. Like, just kind of wake up like a runner and do all the things that a runner does, but without running. And that's got to have some benefit. You know?
Yeah, I guess I can stretch and put on my
Right.
shoes.
Well, so how old is your daughter?
She's 3. So
Wow.
I do everything late in life. I took that class I quit my job at 43 to pursue comedy full time. I got married for the first time at age 48, and then we had a baby when I was 50. So, yeah, I'm at 20 years behind everyone else, but
Right.
better late than never, right? So,
No, so Austin, there's hope.
There is hope.
You know,
yeah.
so
I'm 36, so no
Okay.
kids, not married.
Okay, well, yeah, you're too young to me to.
he's not ready for that kind of
I
responsibility.
think you just became my role model, Brian. I'm gonna put a
Yeah.
poster up.
Like I said, I was 48 when I got married, so you got another decade to just.
Spring chicken. Man, I'm doing great.
Yeah, don't jump into it too early. That's my advice.
Yeah, especially if you don't like long-term commitment. It could be a little frightening.
Yeah.
Where
You probably should
my
figure that
wife
out.
and I, yeah,
yeah.
my wife and I, we're on a little bit of the other end. I was 23 when we got married, and she was 20. But we only dated 2 weeks, and the only reason we dated that long is I didn't want to marry a teenager, so I wanted to wait until she turned 20.
Wow.
So yeah, we dated 2 weeks, and we'll be married 20 years in December. So
I would have told you that would not have worked out.
right, I would tell everybody that ours was just we were really blessed.
That's
So,
amazing. Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And we have 4 kids. So
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. It's getting pretty serious, sounds like.
Yeah, it's like good for you.
You guys
But
Mormon?
that's the I'm sorry?
Are you Mormon?
No.
Essentially, he is.
Yeah.
Does
Well, so we have 3 boys, and then our daughter was in our youth group, and we ended up adopting her.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
awesome. That is awesome.
And so no, we were youth pastors right after I got out of the military. So,
Okay. Okay.
but
Both
no,
of you
so
were?
no.
No.
I'm barely in the army of the Lord, Brian.
Okay. Okay.
I'm holding on.
We're going to
Gosh,
work on you,
girl.
Austin.
right.
Again, I don't like long-term commitments. So the whole salvation. No, it's not good for me.
Well, you're going to have one commitment when you die, one way or the other. So you might as well
That's true.
commit to the cooler side.
Right. Brian, he's your project.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
You actually didn't know this is the intervention for me, but I knew and he knew. You just didn't know.
Yeah.
now, one of the things when my kids were younger, the energy that it took, even in my 20s, to just take care of them, chase
Yeah.
after them, everything like that. It was exhausting. So
Yeah.
you're honestly more fit than the rest of us and some kind of superhero because you're able to do it at a little older than 20.
Yeah. Yeah. My sister, who's 5 years older than I am, told me the other day, she's like, I don't know how you do it as far as doing all this. And I was like, well, if it was someone else's kid, I'd probably feel the same way. But when it's your own, you find the energy somehow. But I am always tired. So there's no denying that. But, I often feel like, the saying, you don't know what you don't know. I feel like we will look back when she's grown and be like, how did we do that? But we just don't know any better. And,
Right.
I have moments in my life where I look back in college, I lived in a dorm room the size of a jail cell with another guy and loved it because I didn't know any better. I sure couldn't do that now, but at the time, that's all you know. So, yeah, I am exhausted. I am, chasing her around all the time. This week especially, again, because my wife's been gone. So, but it's fun. And I always say what what we like in energy, hopefully we have gained in wisdom being older
Right.
parents. So I don't know if that's true,
So
but that's what I tell myself.
yeah, no. I mean that because there was definitely no wisdom when I was raising my kids,
Yeah.
and we're kind of still raising ourselves,
Sure.
and so like I think there's a lot, because you think about the positives of having them younger with maybe a little more energy and everything like that, but I think there's a lot of positives with the wisdom piece, and I'm sure there's others. Are there any other things you think that make it a little easier being a little older having kids?
Well, I mean, to your point, like it's probably amazing for you, like you said, that I would just have the energy to do that, but it takes so much patience, and I couldn't imagine doing it in my 20s
Right.
when I was basically a kid myself. And I mean, even, I'm 53. Last night doing the bedtime routine, I mean, she really pushes all my buttons, and I just
Right.
kept preaching patience to myself, but you lose it sometimes. And when I was in my 20s and, even less mature than I am now, I don't know how you do it. But I mean, getting older, I mean, being older parents, again, we're not like rolling in the dough. I don't want to say that, but obviously financially we're a little bit better shape than we were in our 20s.
Right.
So that probably helps. And yeah, just wisdom. Now, one of the downsides is fewer babysitters available because,
Right.
our family, like most couples take their kids to the grandparents, and we ain't doing that because
Right.
dropping her off at Harpeth Hill Cemetery. So
I mean, she likes playing outside. I don't know,
Yeah,
like flowers.
exactly.
Maybe not be the worst option. Maybe not at 3. But
Yeah, maybe
couple
not.
years.
Yeah.
Maybe a
Now, my
couple years.
mom's still alive, but she's 81, so we don't let her stay
Right.
with her too often.
But I bet you that's awesome for your mom, though, that, having that grandbaby.
Oh, it is. It is. I mean, she only had one grandchild, and my sister had a child and who's now about to be 25. So my mom had over a 20-year gap of having another grandkid, and she obviously did not think at this age that we were going to be having one. Anyone would be having
Right.
one. So it's such a nice, huge surprise for her to, have another grandchild.
And it's automatically got to be her favorite grandchild. I mean,
Well, she doesn't say that to the other grandchild, but
right.
But
You
you
know.
know.
We know. Of course.
Now, when you told your mom you were going to have a kid, right? Like, was she like super supportive, or you said just kind of surprised it was actually happening, or?
She was shocked, but certainly supportive. I mean, again, it'd be one thing if I was a single guy that was like, "Hey, I'm going to adopt a baby." Then she might be like, "Do you know what you're doing?" But now I'm married with a wife who is mature, even if I'm not, and my mom knows that. So now she was just, as far as I know, she was just all out excited. Obviously nervous for us as older parents that the pregnancy would go well, but just very, very shocked and surprised and excited.
Yeah, my wife matured, even though she was a little bit younger than me, a lot faster than I did. And there was one time I got her upset, and she hit me with a cast iron skillet. And after that, like there were no problems with me. like I just whatever she needed done, we were good. So
That sounds like hee haw or something. Like that's a real thing that wives have husbands with cast iron skillets.
Yeah, if you come out to where we live, we're close to Chattanooga, but it's about 30 minutes away, and it's a real rural area. Like, I have pictures of my wife like feeding goats, feeding a pig, and then like chickens at her feet too. So,
What's the name of your town?
Rising Fawn,
Rising Fawn.
Fawn, FAWN.
It's not fun. Don't trust me. It's not
Okay.
fun.
It's a lot of work, man.
All right.
So that being said, you were right. It's like yeehaw or hee haw.
Right.
Yeah, chasing you around with a cast iron skillet. Is that what you said?
Right. Yeah.
And hit
Yeah.
you with it.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. And what did you do? for her to do that?
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't even remember, but
Yeah, 'cause
I've
you
just
did that
done whatever
Skillet.
she said since. I think she hit me good enough that I don't remember.
Yeah, but it worked, huh?
Right, right.
Yeah.
So now whenever people get married, that's our wedding gift to them. So,
Well, we could use one. I wish I'd known you then.
right.
Hmm.
So back on the comedy, like, you know, you do so many things. I mean, you do your podcast, you're a dad, you're a husband, I mean, you just stay so busy with so many things. Like before a show, like how do you get in the mindset to perform? Because I think that's such a fascinating thing that you're going to be up there for, roughly an hour
Mhm.
and you're it. You're all everybody's looking at,
Yeah,
and paying attention to. So,
yeah. It's, it can be nerve-wracking when you think of it like that, but, um, I don't know. I'm just thinking about my set list, my jokes, and if there's anything, unusual I wanna say about the night. Like, I usually open up with something about the venue or the town or something like that, uh, once the show starts and the first comics are on, I'm kind of surveying the audience, see how they're doing, and um, I don't get too nervous, but you're always, I guess, a little nervous. That's not a great answer, but I don't,
no, no, that's great.
I don't know what else to say. Yeah.
So like with your set list, like
Mhm.
how long till you feel like you've got that set list like exactly where you want it? Like,
Well,
um,
it's always evolving. I mean,
mhm,
I'm always thinking of new jokes, and then I'll think, well, I'd rather put that in and take out, this joke maybe that doesn't work as well. So I'm always trying to make it better, always trying to work out old jokes that maybe have run their course and should. But unless I'm recording a special, it's or getting ready to do a special, it's
mhm,
a little bit different every time because I'm always working in new jokes and working out old ones. I mean, my set list now, I mean, I feel good about the hour I do, but I've got some jokes that probably ready to retire and
right.
get some new ones in there.
Now, so like for your closer, like do you like when you're writing that, do you automatically know like, hey, this is a potential closer material, or is it something that over time it evolves to that?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I'd, uh, you know, did you guys see Nate Bargatze in Chattanooga when he was there
Mhm.
a few weeks ago? His closing joke about his texting with his sister, the family text, is such a great closer, and that's such a great joke. He said he knew almost instantly that that's a great closer,
Right.
and that's wonderful. But that's Nate. I don't usually. I mean, very often it just needs to be a joke that obviously does very well, that gets big laughs, and maybe can either wrap up the show in a bow in a way, or
Mhm.
go out with just something big. But no, I don't know. I mean, I'm constantly trying to figure out a good closer.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do you like when you're trying to think of a new joke or a new closer or something like that, do you like look for things in everyday life and like keep like a notebook or your phone by to take notes and things like that? Or is it like a random wake up in the morning after eating Taco Bell 2 a.m. It's like, oh, this is a good joke. Like what's that process look like? Or is it just kind of depend?
Yeah, it does kind of depend. I've varied over the years. Sometimes I would dedicate, especially when I first quit my job, I'm like, I'm going to dedicate each day with sitting down for a certain amount of hours and write. And I didn't do that very long. Now I don't have the time to do that. But even when I did have the time, I wasn't as dedicated as I should have been. So I just typically, yeah, I have my phone on me. So if I have an idea, I quickly jot it into my phone, and then I flesh it out later. Some comedians, again, like Nate, he only has a few ideas in his head, and then he works it out on stage. And I've never had that confidence. So I will sit down and kind of write out my jokes almost word for word that I want to attempt.
Mhm.
And then I may have to adjust it later, but I like to write them out word for word on my laptop. And just because I don't trust myself if I don't think this through. But yeah, sometimes like yesterday I was driving and an idea came to me, and I just thought, oh, I couldn't. I mean, I could have stopped, I guess, and I didn't want to stop. I was on the interstate. I just thought I got to remember this. So, so many times I think over the years, I think, oh, that's a great joke. I won't forget it. And then just a short time later, I'm like, what was that? I cannot remember. You always think you're going to remember, and you usually don't.
Well, even in a different type of setting, like even for things for the podcast when it's just him and I on here,
Mhm,
I'll do that through the week and either shoot myself a text or
mhm.
do some kind of voice memo or something. But how you were talking about with comedians, I've seen similar like with a lot of preachers. There's a lot of preachers that will kind of have everything pretty much written out, and then
Yeah,
some of them will just have like bullet points
yeah.
essentially.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I always think about comedians and preachers and how they have some similarities and things like that. And we have a lot of preachers that listen to our podcast, and very often they'll write in. And I guess preachers are often wanting to secretly be comedians, I think, and be funnier. But I mean, preachers have a new set every week.
Right.
May not be an hour, but at least a new 30 minutes every week. And I'm always impressed with that.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you from like preaching experience. Whenever I try to be funny, it's not funny. It
Yeah.
doesn't land well, So it's usually become like if there's a funny part, it's more conversational than like
Uh-huh.
me actually trying to plan to be funny. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I experience that myself sometimes.
right,
Yeah. See, my dad was a pastor most of
Okay.
my life,
Okay.
and he would always pull in like stories from like me and my brother and my sister.
Yeah.
And like half the time when I could tell he was starting to tell a story, I'd be like, let me lean in to make sure he doesn't embellish. Because
right.
sometimes I'm pretty sure his stories he would adapt to what he needed to go with his sermon. I'm like, wait a second, that didn't happen. Or
Yeah.
that wasn't me.
That's so funny you say that, because I've had preachers over the years, especially since I've been doing stand-up comedy, where I am more like a joke police, where I don't want you getting credit for a laugh if you didn't write that. And there's a preacher I used to have that would tell this story. I heard him tell it more than once about a uh, crying baby, and the mom gets up, takes her out, and he says to her, "Your baby's not disturbing me," and she said, "Well, your preaching's disturbing my baby," or something like that. And it always got a laugh. And I thought, I don't think that's true, and
Right.
I don't think that really happened. And
Right.
if you just admit, like, here's a story I've heard, but he acted like it really happened, and it always kind of annoyed me because I feel like my preacher's lying to me.
Right.
Yeah.
You should stand up in church next time that happens and say something. Be
I know.
like,
Young false prophet, you.
Yeah. I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure
right.
that didn't really happen.
Like my spirit says that is false. And see
Yeah.
what happens.
So one of the things that I know that you have to do with your podcast is kind of, I mean, you're the general of that, man. You're running it. Everybody knows.
I'm the
I,
Austin
I'm
of the group.
well. See, that's what I was gonna say. That's the opposite. See, Austin is like all the guys that you're trying to rein in,
No, I know. I can see that.
and man, it's tough.
It
So I
is.
want to see if you've got any wisdom for me because you've been at this longer.
Yeah, you've only got
Because
one to rein in. I have three.
But I'm like 3. If that,
Yeah.
listen, it's some days it's harder than others. I'm like, I just look. I'm like, I can't say this. I can't say.
Um, it's gotten easier, I guess, in the sense that we all know each other so well that we work well together and can kind of usually play off each other. Yeah, it's every week's challenging, especially if we have a guest, kind of filling them out. You don't want to, you want to give them their time and let them, do their thing, but at the same time, kind of keep it I mean, it's just a dumb podcast where we make jokes. It doesn't matter if we don't get to all the talking points in the topic. So I try not to be like a dictator, like, guys, we got to get through this. I'm not an instructor, but yeah, I always have somewhere to go, I guess. That's the important thing. In the
Right.
conversation, you never know when it's going to end, and I let it run its course, but whenever it stops, I got somewhere to go. And that's important, because then you don't feel like, oh gosh, you know, it makes everyone comfortable if you know that somebody's leading it and has something to say, somewhere to go when this conversation's over, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so, one of the things, with us is we actually started off just as work friends, both working for a mental health company, and we're like, man, we have fun at work. Like, let's just have fun on podcasts
Mhm.
and do that. And so we're newer to bringing people on, but I wanted to make sure you knew that you're a pretty big deal, because last week we had Superman's mom on there from the new movie. So,
Oh,
we're just filled with superheroes here, Brian.
yeah, I see that. So the one that's about to come out,
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah.
okay. Obviously I haven't seen it yet, but I want to see how did you guys get her?
She just, just different people we knew her,
Is she from
and she's
Chattanooga?
yeah, she lives in the Chattanooga area.
Oh,
So, and she's literally like the sweetest person ever.
yeah,
So,
literally.
Plus, when you
Okay.
look like this, I mean, how can you say no?
Yeah.
We got you. You're here. I mean,
I know. Same reasons.
yeah, the podcast is a lot more handsome today, Brian. So,
Well, that's awesome. You got Superman's mom. That's probably a little bit of a letdown this week.
no, man, I'm so excited, because the thing is, like, I've paid to go see you. I've never paid to go see her. So,
Well, you should go see her movie.
right. Oh, I will.
we will.
Yeah.
But that's going to be like an awesome week, because it comes out the same week that you're in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
So, for the Rojo family, we're going to go see you on the 9th, and then on the 11th, her movie comes out.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome. That's awesome.
yeah.
What is? I'm sorry, I don't know this, but what is the Rojo family? Like, what is Rojo?
Yeah, so his first name is Roy, and my middle name is Joseph. So we just came up with Rojo, and then all our listeners, the Rojo family, and
Uh-huh.
it's actually really helped us with the Spanish speaking population as well, because it's spelt same as Rojo.
Yeah.
So
Which we didn't think about that before. So
right.
we don't speak Spanish, but we'll have like, what's Rojo or what's Rojo? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I
And
mean,
then
I don't really speak Spanish, but when I saw that, I'm like, red? Are they like? That's the first thing I thought of.
Maybe we'll put like little periods in between each letter. Maybe
Right.
Yeah. No, it's
we're
good.
evolving. We're evolving.
Yeah, sure.
We're all on this journey.
Yeah.
So with just being out there and doing these shows, one of the things that we have here is as a part of the podcast is we have lick my skillet moments. And what that derives from is there's a town in South Georgia. It's called Maynard, Georgia now, but
Mhm.
its original name was Lick My Skillet. And whenever there's something just kind of wild that it's hard to believe, or something just crazy happens, we call it Lick My Skillet moments.
Mhm.
So I was wondering if you have one of those that you could share with our listening audience.
Well, first of all, you have a lot of Skillet stories, I've noticed. So.
Right.
Yeah, it's called trauma, Brian. It's called a trauma response. But yeah,
This podcast should be called Skillet.
Right. Maybe.
I think there's already a group called Skillet.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
So
It
I
could
don't
be
know
more
copyright
confusing than
law.
Rojo.
The
Um,
Rebel Skillet. Yeah.
what was it? A story that's unbelievable?
Yeah.
Gosh, let me think. Uh, I've told so many embarrassing stories on the Nateland podcast, but I don't know if any of those are like, um, I can't believe you say like I can't believe that happened type of thing.
Right.
Um, you know, I'll give you a couple, I guess. One of them happened just a couple weeks ago. Didn't happen to me, but still, it was kind of crazy. I was there when happened. So it kind of happened to me. I was walking through the airport, Atlanta airport, with Dusty Slay, who's on our podcast, and we just gotten off the train there. We're headed to baggage claim. It was very busy. And Dusty said, pointed at the guy in front of us and said, "That's Christian Bale." And I was like, what? I thought he was just joking. Like, he looks like Christian Bale. And I'm like, he didn't look that much like him. And it was just a guy there walking with his wife and son. And I kind of looked up, kind of got closer and looked over. And I was like, that is Christian Bale. And we were both like, wow, that's so cool. Batman and all the great movies he's been in and things like that. And we were both like, that's just pretty cool. We saw Christian Bale. Nobody was bothering him in Atlanta airport, just walking through or whatever, minding his own business. And then we get to baggage claim and I'm talking to Dusty, and then Christian Bale just pops his head in out of nowhere to Dusty, puts his hand out, shakes his hand, says, "I'm a huge fan of yours. I watch your videos. I just wanted to shake your hand and say, thank you," or something like that. And we were both so stunned that this was happening because we're both big fans. And then I had the wherewithal at least to say, let's get a photo, or asked to, and took a photo with him and Dusty. And even though it didn't directly happen to me, we were both on cloud nine for the rest of the day.
Right.
It's such a crazy story that Christian Bale knew who Dusty was and was a fan and approached him. So
that's awesome.
That's one. I mean, this isn't some, I can't believe this happened story, but I've shared on our podcast before, doing a show with Nate Bargatze. This was years ago. I can't remember where we were at, but the next day, I opened for him. And the next day, I'm like getting lunch at a sandwich shop or something. And I see this woman who I'd spotted down close in the front row from the night before. She was probably kind of attractive. That's why I noticed her. And I said to her, "Were you at Nate Bargatze's show last night?" And she said, "Yeah, were you?" And I'm like, yeah, I was on the show. And she's like, "Oh yeah." She tried to cover her tracks, like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I thought you looked familiar or whatever." But that's a pretty low blow when I recognize someone in the audience and they don't recognize me.
At that point, you're the only one that all the attention's on. And
yes. And she did not remember me.
Right.
Yeah, not at all. It'd been 12 hours earlier.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So that's all I can think of.
No, that's good, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
And I think Austin and his relationships, there's been some things like that, where he recognizes somebody and they're definitely not recognizing him back.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah,
I'm sure it has at some point, probably last week, honestly.
Right. But no, man, I want to thank you for coming on with us. And one thing we want to do special, for our Rojo family right now is, as we said, July 9th, you're going to be at Comedy Catch in Chattanooga.
Yep.
And, the Rojo team, we're gonna, section off some tables and get some tables there. And what we're going to do is, for any 2 Rojo listeners that, just share this podcast and, share the video and help promote Brian coming to Chattanooga, then they're going to get some free tickets from us for your show.
Awesome. Awesome.
So we're excited about that, excited to bring some Rojo family along. And, afterward, you might have a chance to say hey to Brian on the way out or something. So,
yeah, this will be a real test to see, like, if nobody claims these tickets, I don't know if this says more about me or you.
Right. Mm-hmm. Maybe that lady from that show years ago will
maybe. I can't remember where it was. Maybe it was Chattanooga. So who knows?
Sounds about right.
Maybe she'll be there. Yeah.
But no, I appreciate it, man, and I thank you for taking some time with us. I know how busy you are, and just grateful for what you're doing. And honestly, I love the fact that you're doing a really important thing. I feel like I know you may not see it that way, but to
Yeah.
have good, clean entertainment that families can enjoy. I'm glad that what you guys are doing is getting back to that. Where I think we've had a number of years where culture's kind of shifted away, from that type of entertainment, and I'm just grateful that clean comedy is doing so well, and I think you're one of the best there is.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And that's very kind of you to say. And I appreciate you guys supporting my show in Chattanooga. And Austin, don't jump into any relationships too quickly. You're too young for that.
I got another 10, 12 years according to you. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking for a mentee, here I am.
You're the guy. Yeah. To me, it's not like that long-term. If long-term commitment's your problem, wait till you're almost dead anyway. And then it doesn't,
Then doesn't matter.
doesn't feel so pressure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, man, we appreciate you, and I know you got a whole lot of other shows, so you guys check out Brian. If you want to just share some of the ways they can find some of your material.
Yeah, my website's brianbatescomedy.com. Has all my shows listed on there. On Facebook and Instagram, I think my handle's Brian Bates Comic. I think TikTok as well. So yeah, check me out.
All right, Rojo family, we love you guys.
Yeah, well, guys, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
I'd like to introduce myself. I don't believe that we have ever met. I think that we could hit it off so well. Let me paint a picture, you and me together. I'd like to